Hello, Assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound, and healthy. And how is everybody? How is everybody feeling? How is everybody doing? Because, as we all know, life is just getting worse. Thanks to countries like the United Kingdom, America, and Israel, life is only going to get worse. Thanks to the puppet governments that they've put in place in countries like ours, life is going to get even worse. And so no matter how much you try to extricate yourself from geopolitics and politics, the problem is that personal is politics. So anything that is personally attacking us is basically a societal issue. It's a societal issue because it is a political issue. In other words, because the whole point of politics is to resolve these issues and not create more for us. So it makes it understandable that now we actually have the need to ask each other, how are you? And not that superficial, how are you, that we just say, oh, how are you? Oh, I'm fine, thank you. Oh, how's life? Oh, everything's fine. No, it's more like an actual, how are you? How are we? How are you feeling? How is your life treating you? You know? Also, I'm having a very bad headache. Yeah, I'm having a bad headache because I've noticed that every time I have to talk loud, it's just getting on my nerves now. And unfortunately for me, I normally do not talk. That's actually the fortunate part, that I'm very, very quiet. I spend days on end even not talking to people. But unfortunately, the certain people that I do have to communicate with, I have to do so very loudly. And that does not kind of suit my brain. In other words, I can scream till kingdom comes and fine, repeat myself 10 times, and take 10 minutes to get one line across because I have to repeat myself and I have to yell while I'm at it. But you know what? It's really taking a toll. At the end of the day, I end up with a bad headache somewhere in the middle of my mind where you cannot even pinpoint, There's this weird dull ache right in the center, right in the middle of your brain or your skull somewhere. And the only reason then you can realize or think is, oh, today I actually talked. And not only did I talk, I had to yell. I had to talk at the top of my lungs. And I had to repeat myself about 1,000 times. Yeah. So, yeah. Another thing that is really, really pissing me off is the fact that people do not listen to you deliberately. They ignore whatever you say. And then they act all injured when you finally get riled up and you yell at them, because what they're doing is actually causing you harm or damage. And you're telling them constantly, stop doing that, and they are blatantly ignoring you. And all you can do is to stop yourself from actually smacking the person. And so you just end up shouting at that person that, can you even listen to me? Am I just a dog barking? Is that what it is? Like what? What is it that you can't listen? What is it you can't get through your head? And you still try to keep within the bounds. And then suddenly they act also injured, not even realizing the fact that they're the ones that are causing you damage. And the fact that you even have to yell at them is causing you even more damage, because now you're going to have another headache. So, yeah, today I had to talk with 3 different people. And unfortunately for me, all 3 different people required me yelling at the top of my voice and repeating myself 10 times. 2 of them, one of them because they are stubborn and obstinate and do not want to listen and will keep on and on doing the wrong thing that is causing you damage. The second one is a person who has a long-term habitual selective hearing, which means they will keep on saying ha, 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 and make you repeat yourself 1,000 times. And so the only way to reduce repetition is to start speaking at the top of your voice right from the start, to ensure that you don't have to repeat yourself. Because God help you if you try to talk in a normal voice. Then you have to repeat yourself 10 times, definitely. But if you start by yelling at the top of your lungs right from the start, then you'll probably repeat yourself only twice. And then the third person that I had to talk to, I was actually very, very sad because they themselves speak in a very low voice and they used to have very good hearing. But now they're so ill and their illness has caught up with them and age has caught up with them. And things have gone to this point where now they cannot hear properly. And I had to talk in a loud voice 3-4 times, repeating myself. So here it is, for 3 different reasons and in 3 different ways, but I still had to yell at the top of my lungs. Yeah, well, not yell at the top. In one of them, I literally had to yell at the top of my lungs. And the other 2, I had to talk very loud. And the thing is that my throat isn't what it used to be. There was a time when my throat was in this ideal condition where, you could speak in any tenor, any volume very smoothly and carry it all the way up and go all the way down and with no effect to your throat. But now, to be honest, I literally feel like I have to frown with the intensity of trying to talk so loud, especially when I have to talk constantly loud, as in, when you are having a conversation in which you have to yell throughout. I don't think anybody can constantly talk at the top of their voice or at the top of their lungs or at such a loud voice without scrunching up their face. So that's another reason now that I already had a bitch face, a resting bitch face. Now I've got a permanent resting bitch face, scowls and all. So there's that. And it's getting a bit. In fact, come to think of it, there's another thing also that I really need to now speak while I'm at it. Why is it that people keep calling la neige le neige? And why is it that they keep calling le boubou la boubou? Like, seriously, what is wrong with everybody all of a sudden? And I'm even talking about the native English speakers, not other. Even the native English speakers, like hello. You do know LA is la. Why are you reducing the sound of LA into le? And normally I would actually understand, because most English speakers and non-English speakers also who don't speak French, they tend to pronounce LE as Lee. But here it's so weird. I keep hearing la for LE, la boubou. What is la boubou? It's le. LE is le. It's French. Okay, so la neige, LANEIGE. Yes, your skincare, your favorite Korean skincare product. The brand the name is French, and you see it very clearly, LA. So why is the whole world calling it LE? As in, why is the whole world calling it le? It's not le neige, it's la neige. La, mi, fa, so, ti, la, Hello. LA is la. But okay, again, as I said, even it's just weird asked that people are calling le boubou la boubou. Like, seriously, it's LE. It's LE. Where is there an A that you have to say la boubou? It's le boubou. Le, LE. Yeah. Although obviously the creator, of this character, from it's a Hong Kong Chinese. So yeah, but still the name given here is French. So take it up with him anyway. The point is, it's le boubou, okay? Not la boubou, please. And it's la neige, not le neige, please. Because neige is snow and it's feminine. That's why it has la with it. Those who speak in languages in which every noun has a gender, like in our own language too, in Urdu, every noun has a gender. Every noun is either a female or a male. So it's the same with French. Every noun has a gender. And usually you recognize the genders, although there are exceptions everywhere, because French is even more nonsensical than English when it comes to grammar. Because the problem with French is it was not originally a written language, obviously, it was a spoken language. So they made up their language based on sounds, phonetics. Phonetics and sounds were most important. So when they turned it into a written language, they were faced with this huge list of, grammar rules with exceptions, a huge list of exceptions coming along with the rules. But in this case, you can stick to the rule. Generally, the word that ends in an E is feminine. And so you will use la. La is feminine. La means the, by the way. So la neige, the snow. Yeah. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, I'm hoping I'll have a great day. Although I doubt that because I'm still going to be listening to people on the internet saying la boo boo and le neige for some weird ass reason. Yeah. And you see, by this time, as you can even hear by my voice, this is what my throat has got into. Is that even when I actually pick up the mic to do a podcast and I'm trying to speak in my normal voice, it sounds a bit rusty. It always sounds a bit rusty. One could again blame the fact that I'm usually quiet for days on end. But again, it's not just that. It's exactly the fact that I think my throat can just take it no more. That I'm quiet for days on end, and then when I have to talk, I have to yell. I have to scream. I have to scrunch up my face, produce a scowl so that I can get enough out. As I said, gone were the days when I could very smoothly speak in a very loud voice. I think my throat has finally given up on me. Or on itself. I don't know. So here we are, wondering how everybody is. And one shouldn't actually forget the fact that just recently, like I think a couple of days ago, was it? Am I getting my days right? Because I'm usually doing my podcast in the middle of the freaking night, but I don't think it's midnight yet. But still, okay. The female, the cricket team, the Australian cricket team, the women's team in India, two of their team members were molested. And exactly as we predicted, the Indian government just pinned it on a scapegoat because they thought this was a good opportunity for them to once again politicize themselves. Because remember, the elections at Bihar is going on. So whenever the elections are up, the Indian government always drags Pakistan into there, because it's weird, but it's like India doesn't have a life. Indian politics doesn't have a life. The only way India and its politics can survive is by obsessing over Pakistan. If India was a person, you would know what kind of a disorder psychologically it would be diagnosed with. So this unhealthy obsession with Pakistan, to this point that India cannot function, its politics cannot function, the elections cannot function, their politicians cannot function without bringing in Pakistan. So this time they decided, let's pin it on a Muslim and call him a Pakistani sympathizer. Imagine. When it is a known fact that India is notorious for unsafe environment for women. Many female vloggers have complained, many male vloggers have complained, many Indian females have complained about the fact that India is no longer safe for females. Never was for a very long time. Again, what would you expect when you have Hindu extremists in the government who have terrorized the people through their terrorist outfits? And the fact that you are not allowed to call a Hindu terrorist outfit a terrorist outfit is again very remarkable, isn't it? It sounds very familiar, doesn't it? How a white man is never called a terrorist, but he's always called a retard. You know, any white man who commits terrorism or any Jew who commits terrorism, they are suddenly pronounced mentally retarded. Similarly, any Hindu that commits terrorism is referred to as either just a person, an individual, a criminal, or, you know, a perpetrator. And the fact that he's Hindu is never mentioned. But when they want to create a situation, a narrative, they'll scapegoat a Muslim. It's the let's just put it this way: the position of Muslims in India is such that no Muslim would even dare actually do such a thing in India. That is how bad the situation is. And yet India boasts to have the largest Muslim majority. Oh, Muslim minority, sorry. As in, they always say, oh, our Muslim minority even outnumbers the Muslims of Pakistan. Yeah, I doubt that's going to remain the case. And again, the way Muslims are treated in Pakistan, the way India has always used their Muslims as hostages whenever they've threatened Pakistan, it's amazing, isn't it? The way they have kept their own Muslims as hostages, the way their Muslims have to, especially their celebrities who are Muslims, the way they have to constantly pledge allegiance to India. It's so obvious and it's very sad and it's very concerning. The way they have to constantly prove their patriotism. Be they sports people, be they actors and actresses, be they singers, be they, politicians even, it doesn't matter. They are seen to be constantly in that vicious cycle of having to prove themselves to be patriots. So, an Indian terrorist outfit is not allowed to be called a terrorist outfit, and it has the full backing of the Indian government. Why? Because the Indian government itself is made up of terrorists. The Prime Minister Modi, he is the one behind the Gujarat massacre, the massacre of the Muslims. So that itself can tell you what the position is of Muslims in India. And they think that they can fool the world by scapegoating an alleged Muslim and saying, oh, he's the one who molested the girls. Yeah, right. Again, rape culture in India became predominant after Hindu extremism became predominant, after the terroristic Hindu extremists took over governance and let loose their terrorist outfits. That is when we heard constant news of killings of Muslims, of raping of nuns, of raping of females. Because guess what? Like the Zionists, the Hindu extremists believe that they actually have the right to rape women, by the way. It seems to be in some sort of their weird ass religious thing, which is very, 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 disturbing. So, yeah, India is notoriously known to be unsafe for females. It's been so for a long time. And things are just getting worse. And any educated Indian is aware of this and they want to highlight it. But you still have these. You see, the fact that Modi has, well, he himself was uneducated, so to speak. He was a chaiwala. He was a person who worked in a tea stall. And he's become prime minister. So obviously, what is he doing? He's encouraging the illiteracy in India. So where India was so proud that it was a secular country, although it never was, to be honest, even before Modi, but at least they kept that pretense, just like how Pakistan kept the pretense of being an Islamic republic, but there was nothing Islamic about Pakistan, and now they've dropped the pretense. Similarly, in India, they kept up that pretense of being a secular country, but they never were. And now they've dropped all pretenses. So here we are. We've got the Indians who are actually being encouraged to be illiterate, to be ignorant. The Indian media is right now, it's become the joke of the town. It always was where Pakistan was concerned because we could always see their lies. But for some weird reason, they managed to pull the wool over the eyes of the international, um, you know, media or other countries in general, the public in other countries. But now they've been exposed so badly that now they're beginning to realize all over the world that the Indian media is actually the most unreliable media in the world. Heavy censorship has always been a part of Indian media. Lying, false narratives, fabrications has always been there. But as I said, they always manage to gloss over and make the international media and the international public in general to believe them. But now they've been very, very badly exposed. As opposed to that, Pakistani media was very free until recently. Now, Pakistani media is heavily censored and it is totally unreliable. Mainstream media of Pakistan is now totally, totally unreliable. If you want to know the truth, you need to revert to the real journalists who are working in alternative media on the internet. And that is where you will find the real news. And similarly, even to get the real news from India. Now, here's the tricky thing is that when you want to get even the alternative media on the Indian internet is not exactly alternative. It's actually mainstream media that has taken over even the internet. So there's heavy censorship going on there. Now in Pakistan, they are trying to follow in the footsteps of Indian government, and they are trying to impose some sort of a, because they cannot do an open censorship because they fear backlash. Although why, I don't know. 70 years, no backlash, but okay. But they are basically going backhanded in the sense that they're going for firewalls and this and that, slowing the internet down, tampering with the bandwidth, this and that, working with YouTube to disrupt the algorithms so that vlogs don't get shown, and even view counts get shown as zero, even though they're having loads and loads and loads of view counts, so stuff like that. Working with metaverse to encroach upon the privacy of the consumers. So that is all there. But again, where do we stand with that? At least we still have that a better option compared to India. I mean, India is really, it's the situation is so bad, as I said, that even you can't even find a good alternative media on the internet to get the actual news. It's so sad. But in Pakistan, at least we still manage to get, because again, our journalists are mostly abroad. So no matter how much our government tries to censor them, it cannot really. So as I said, they in return go through the back door, you know, thingy where they have to mess up the algorithms and everything. But because they're basically abroad and they're streaming from abroad or they're uploading from abroad, so the access is still there. And those who have to watch them. And a huge majority of our public watches them as opposed to mainstream media. So things are going very, very quickly into that exact place where I've been saying for a couple of years now that we are going towards full-fledged war. So here we are going towards there. So again, it is very important for us now to really think, how are we? Isn't it? How is life treating us? How can we end it before that chaos begins? As in, how can we end in my case, I would say, how can I end my life and not be a part of whatever it is that's coming? Because I know whatever is coming. I mean, obviously, it's God's design, it's His plan at the end of the day. No matter how much human beings try to manipulate situations and think they're doing it and they have control, the truth is, at the 11th hour, is God is going to take over control and skedaddle the whole thing to shit. So, why do we need to go and see all of that? Why not remove ourselves from the equation way before that? Yeah. It's, things are spinning. one would say spinning out of control, but for those of us who were expecting it, we would say it is spinning exactly where we said it would spin. So, this is me signing out. And the most randomest of random, just chit chat podcast today. Khuda Hafiz.